Lead us in the invocation. Night 2010, the time is 5:32. I'd ask Dana Sell to lead us in the invocation.
If we'll all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you and we ask that you would look over and guide and direct each and everything that's done here, that you would bless our city and bless our officials. And we just ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. That's Joe to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize to the council if my words get mixed up. My kids have had me up since 2 this morning, so my mind's a little slow. Now open the citizens forum. Any persons desiring to address the council can come forward at this time. Please limit your presentations to 2 minutes. Please sign in at the front with your name and address, and the council is prohibited by the Texas Open Meeting Act from replying to your responses. At this time, the citizens forum is open. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak?
I would like to speak. Do I go to your podium?
Yes, please approach the podium and write your name and address on the yellow sheet, please.
Okay, my name and address is on there for you.
And then if you'll state your name and address for the
My
record.
name is Crystal Arrowsmith, and I live at 2485 19th Northwest, Paris, Texas.
What's the last name?
Arrowsmith, Arrasmith.
That's good.
I have a petition here. We, the citizens of 19th Street, would like to petition the city of Paris, Texas and Lamar County for an injunction prohibiting Larry Moody to reside at 2660 19th Street, Paris, Texas. He's a registered, well, he hasn't actually been on the registered list yet, but he's a sex offender that just got released from prison, and he's just moved into a residence where he has to pass Trinity Christian Academy, which is a daycare and a preschool. Because it's a dead end, they've given him a waiver. We would like you to revoke or do whatever you can so that he is not allowed to pass that daycare. Well, they say it has to be within a mile. I don't believe that I believe he's closer than a mile to that daycare. And then I believe Rebecca Phillips would like to speak. She lives right next door and has 2 little girls that live right next to him.
Yes, my name is Rebecca Neely, and my address as of yesterday is 1810 Butler Lane. I had to move to get away from this man. He was moving to 2660 19th Northwest. My address was 2658 19th Northwest. I had to move around the corner because we share a yard. Our front doors are within 20 foot from his front door, and I have 2 little girls, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I don't think that it's right that I had to move my family so that he could move into my neighbor's house. And I would like to petition, get him removed so that I can move back into my home. That's about all I have to say.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward?
My name is Mildred Prunty, and I live at 4015 19th Northwest, Paris, Texas. And I just learned that this man was being released from prison on Thursday night about 9:30. I know the victim, which was his daughter, and he had molested her from the time she was a toddler till she was in the 5th grade, and he had videotaped this. So for them to give him a waiver to live in the house with his mom, which is right next door to where the crime was committed, I think it's a very egregious of the parole board to do this to our community. And I realize that what y'all could do is very limited, because I've spoken with several people and I've not been able to get anything done. So we're going to need the city to help us with this, to get this man out of our neighborhood and to get the laws changed to where the parole board cannot do this to our community. Thank you very much.
Yes, my name is Donna Phillips. I live at 1810 Butler Lane, and I own 2658 Northwest 19th. And I'm worried, we have all kinds of children in this neighborhood. And I'm more worried about the children's safety than anything. Because I believe if he did this once and went to prison for 50 years, when he gets out, if he does it to another child, we may never hear from that child again.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Hearing none, citizens' forum is closed. I'll now move on to the consent agenda. Is there any item that anyone wants to discuss individually? If not, I'd move for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion by Joe,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to the regular agenda, item number 9 is deliberate and possibly act on a resolution authorizing a voluntary donation program to benefit the Trail to Paris. Mr. Pickle, I believe this is your request, so I'll let you lead off on this.
About probably 30 to 60 days ago, Earl Erickson and I met, just talking about the state of the trail, future plans, and during that discussion, we started talking about what can be done to help maintain the existing trail, as well as once the additions are put into place, to maintain those as well. And I serve on the KPB board, and we've set up a thing with the city so that people can make donations on a monthly basis, or as they so desire, towards KPB. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for people in the community to also do this in support of the trail. So I visited with Kevin and with Gene about what would need to occur to make this happen. And basically, after talking to them, it's an easy process. And once we run out of the existing water bill forms that we've got, they just add an extra line on to those bills, and people can pay as they want, and that money goes to the trail account, for lack of a better term, and then those funds will be used to help maintain the trail.
I like it. Sounds like a good idea. It gives people the option to donate if they want to.
And as the resolution is written, this would be an encumbered account, so there's money left over at the end of the year. It rolls over and can only be used for improvements and maintenance on the trail.
Do you have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Have a motion by Edmund, second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item number 10 is hear and deliberate on presentation of wastewater treatment plant master plan.
For those of you who may not know him, this is Mike Tibbetts with Hayter Engineering, and he is going to give a report on the wastewater treatment plant master plan. Mike?
Thank you, Doug, Mayor, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to come to you tonight, and I know that you've got a lengthy agenda, so I'll try to hit the high points. If you've got questions on the details, please stop me, and I will go on from there. So I assume that this runs the support? Okay.
You use the arrow key, and then on that controller on top, there's a laser pointer if you need.
Okay, thank you. As you may know it, your existing wastewater treatment plant was started back in the early 1940s by the United States Army. It served the wastewater needs of the Camp Maxey prisoner of war camp. It served its purpose well for 60 years, 60 plus years, getting close to 70 years old, but it is showing its age. Deterioration and age are taking its toll, and it's difficult for your staff to keep it operating, keeping it meeting discharge permit requirements. Your average flow over the last few years has been about 4 million gallons a day. You have some instances where it gets up to 6 or 7 MGD, million gallons a day, and there's one case where it got up to 10. The state allows you to discharge an average of 7.25 million gallons a day over a 30-day period. Now, your current permit limit is 1015.2. That stands for the organic loading, the solids loading, and the ammonia nitrogen that can be discharged into the receiving stream. Your plant is big enough that it's required to dechlorinate after the water leaves the chlorination facilities. In other words, you have to put in chlorine to kill the bugs. You got to put in another chemical to dechlorinate. Okay? Thus far, your staff has been able to meet the discharge limitations, but it's increasingly difficult to do so given the deterioration of the facility. One of the items that we had to look at on your facility was the population that we would be expected to serve from a wastewater standpoint. Now, that chart gives you the period from 1940 to 2000, which is historical data, and then the 2010 to 2040 period comes from the Pat Mays study, population study for the Pat Mays Lake from January of 2009. And as you look at that, it shows that you've got a steady population projection for the next 30 years. Another component that we needed to look at was what is the discharge limitation? What is the permit going to be that the state of Texas gives you, because we have to design a plant to meet that discharge limitation. So for 2 or 3 months, we went back and forth with the state of Texas and asked them what would the permit limitations be for some of the sites that we would be considering. We not only considered rehabilitating your existing site, we also looked at what would be some other sites in the area that we could consider. And as you'll notice, not only do we have the existing facility, we also have 4 other sites. Site number 4 at the southeast part of the county, or the lower right-hand part of the page, would be on Big Sandy Creek. We also looked at 3 other sites, site number 3 being one that is adjacent to your existing flow equalization basin. Site number 2 would be north of that, and those are both on Stillhouse Road. That would be adjacent to your existing closed landfill that the city of Paris closed in the mid-1980s. And then north of that would be on Pine Creek, still on Stillhouse Road. The state analyzed, or they used water quality modeling software, and they looked at each site, and they also looked at 3 different flow rates for each of those sites. The long and short of that is that they would anticipate giving us a permit that is slightly tighter than what you have right now. Okay, not a whole lot harder to maintain, but still a little bit tougher than you have right now. Okay, we recommend that you consider designing the plant or making it big enough to meet 10 million gallons a day. Right now you're permitted at 7.25. The reason that we would recommend that you go to a slightly larger plant is so that you would have room to accommodate the future population projections, and so that you could lure some industry to the area with the additional capacity. We'd want you to be able to say, yes, we've got additional capacity. If you want to bring in an industry, here it is. To make a long story short, our recommendation is that you build a new facility adjacent to your existing facility. There's a number of reasons here. The top 6 or 7 I'll go over. Basically, if you rebuilt the old plant, you'd still have an old plant with a facelift. We recommend that you build a new plant adjacent to the old one. Another advantage is that it saves you literally millions of dollars by allowing you to reuse your existing flow equalization basin, your outfall main, your master lift station, the force main with it, and if you went to any other of those 4 locations, you wouldn't get to reuse those existing components. Also, you would have all-weather access from Highway 271. Any of the other locations that were on Stillhouse Road are difficult to access during rain events because the road floods. You would also minimize the amount of 3-phase power lines that you would have to extend. The existing plant has 3-phase power fed from 2 directions like the state requires, and you wouldn't have to extend it very far to the new site. So those are the top reasons that we would recommend that you build a new plant adjacent to your existing plant. In the interest of time, I'll go on to the next item. We looked at 5 different main process stabilization processes in the investigation. Your existing plant has, if you'll remember the photograph that we showed first, there were 2 different sets of what we call racetracks, or concentric tanks, where the sewage goes from one to the other and is aerated as it goes through those. It leaves that and goes to clarifiers where the solid materials are taken out. This process right here that's shown is called the IMCO carousel racetrack. IMCO makes this. There are 160 plus installations in the state of Texas. The advantage of this one, it has 3 moving parts per tank. It's very simple to operate. We went and looked at one of these in Lubbock a few months ago. The next one shown here is manufactured by Fluidyne. It is called the multi-channel reactor. It is similar to, in some ways, to the process that you have now. You see the concentric racetracks, but this process does not use spinning discs to aerate and to mix the sewage. It uses pumps to mix the sewage, and it uses blowers to impart air. The bottom line is that it has some features that allow you to reduce the oxygen requirement, which reduces your horsepower and your electrical cost. There are not any of these in Texas. However, this plant that we looked at in Tennessee has won the Kentucky-Tennessee Environmental Compliance Award 5 years in a row for each of the 5 years that it's been in operation. It was very impressive. The next item is called the Verticell. It's manufactured by Siemens. It has some components that are similar to the system that you are using now. You see in the top there with the circles, those are disc aerators that impart oxygen and mixing to the water. Some of the advantages is that your operators are somewhat familiar with some of the components in this. The third one is called a sequencing batch reactor. What this does is it allows you to do clarification and aeration in the same tank. The other processes that we've talked about so far do not. This process does not require clarification, does not require return activated sludge pumps. So it cuts down on some of the components that you have to have. The city of Bonham and the city of Reno operate a sequencing batch reactor with good results. There's a variation of the sequencing batch reactor made by another manufacturer. What we wanted to give you was a present worth analysis, or an apples to apples comparison of these different main processes, because each one of them has a different capital cost, they have a different tankage cost, they have different operating costs, so we wanted to give you an even comparison. There's not really any one that stands head and shoulders above the others. You see that the present worth analysis here is about $18.5 to $20 million a year for each one of them. Another major thing that the city has to contend with is disposing of the sludge. We can take the sewage and we can clean it up and we can put it out in the creek, and the water that we're putting out there is cleaner than the creek water, but the things that we take out of the sewage have to be disposed of. That is the sludge. Right now, we analyzed 4 different processes: belt press, geotextile bag, drying beds, and the present system that you're using now it's called ATAD, but it's dewatering followed by spray field disposal. That not only is the system that your operators are most familiar with using, but we feel like from a present worth analysis, it also has the lowest present worth. That is the system that we would recommend that you use for your sludge disposal. The next item is a cost breakdown of the different components. The top 6 or 8 lines there is basically construction. But the other items are the engineering, the administration, technical, bond issuance, and contingency. Okay, our estimate there, our cost projection is $45 million for the entire thing, and that does include contingency. Our recommendations at a glance. All right, we've already gone over some of these. begin the process, we recommend that you you build a new plant adjacent to your existing plant. We recommend that you start talking to the adjacent property owner about about purchasing not only the land for the new plant, but we recommend that you consider buying the land that your sludge would be disposed on. And that is because it gives you direct control of that land, which is far more desirable than having to lease it and work with some property owner about his grazing and cattle and all that stuff. And also buying of the buffer zones. We recommend that you look at building a treatment plant of 10 million gallons a day, which will give you capacity for future population growth and for luring in future industry. Reuse your master lift station, put a berm around it to keep flooding down. Reuse your flow equalization basins, your master lift station, your outfall main, and we can go on through some of those other items, but number 12, we would recommend that you look at funding options through maybe the Texas Water Development Board. They have a Clean Water State Revolving Fund that would be available to you, but your bond rating is also good, so you have the option of going to the public market for funding if you want to. Let's see, next item. Now, this is the last slide here. This would be a conceptual layout of the plant site. The top half shows a picture of your existing facilities. If you go to the upper right-hand corner, we would recommend that you reuse your discharge point, reuse the chlorination, dechlorination facilities, reuse some of the tanks for sludge storage, but basically abandon or mothball most of the plant site. The bottom half would show where the new components would be located. You've got clarifiers on the bottom left, the main stabilization in the middle. Your laboratory, office, storage, and vehicle maintenance would be over there on the far left. That concludes my short version of this presentation. I'll be glad to answer questions if you'd like.
Council members? Go ahead.
I've got a couple of questions, and you're going to have to help me out because some of these terms are, I'm not really sure what is what. On site number 2 and 3,
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is site number 3 again?
Site number 3 is adjacent to the existing flow equalization basin.
Okay, that's the one I'm looking at.
Okay.
Could we not abandon that and use the big, these two things for that? I'm just asking.
No, the flow equalization basins are 20 or 30 feet deep in the middle. Those round circles you're showing are about 5 feet deep. So the volume in the flow equalization basins is many, many times higher than it is in those circles that you're pointing to.
Okay. How often are they full?
Not very often are they full, but many times the city has to pull water off of that because more is coming to the plant than it can safely treat. So, I don't know, 40, 50 times a year, there's probably water being pumped up into it.
Okay, which would be putting more water in than this could hold anyway.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. And then, so basically, we're just talking about mothballing most of this stuff out here?
Yes, sir. Quite a bit of it.
If we buy the 30 acres, what do we do with it other than just put stuff out on it?
Well, part of it will be used for the buffer zones that the state requires around any activated sludge process. So you're going to have to keep some of that land, if nothing else, just to keep somebody else from building on it. But there's not a whole lot of use for some of those things that are out there. And keep in mind, some of that's been there since 1940. Some of it is just not, we can't use much of it anymore. Now, the old secondary clarifier that we are now using for chlorine contact, I recommend that we reuse that. That saves you several $1 million of construction costs it's big enough to reuse for the 10 MGD flow, and I see no reason why we shouldn't use
So
it.
we would make some upgrades on it,
Yes, sir.
but still use the facility.
Correct.
Okay. Can we not sell the sludge?
Yes, you can. Now, the problem is, in order to sell it, you have to get to a Class A designation, which means that you have killed a certain high percentage of pathogens and other disease-causing organisms, but you can. The problem is it's usually very energy intensive to get it to Class A. And we have looked at dryers where you basically burn it. You get it so hot and it kills those organisms. However, it costs a lot of money, it takes a lot of energy to get it to that point. And the system that you're using now was the lowest alternative that we could come up with. So, but yes, you can. There are cities that do it. Austin does it. Milwaukee. There's several towns that do.
But it becomes a size, I mean, is it because they're bigger cities, it's easier for them to?
Well, there are economies of scale when you get bigger sizes, and they have other options that you may not have here. But you're correct. In larger scale, for instance, in Austin, they don't have land around their plant that's $2,000 or $3,000 an acre or whatever. It may be sold by the square foot, and they can't spray it. It's not economically feasible for them to spray it like it is here. This is cattle grazing country. You spray it on there, it increases the grass, the hay output, and it's great in this location, but Austin couldn't afford that. The property values are too high around their sewer plant. So what works for you here in Paris, Texas, may not work in Milwaukee or Austin or wherever.
Well, Mike, wouldn't it require, if we were to put ourselves in a position to sell it, wouldn't that require, what was the belt press?
Well, the belt press dewaters it, but it doesn't get it to Class A designation. So it would be dewatered, but we would have to put it in landfill then. That's what drove the cost on the belt press, the geotextile bags, and the drying beds. That's what drove the prices on that, because it has to be transported from your wastewater plant to a landfill, and then you've got to pay not only transportation costs, you've got to pay tipping fees at the landfill. So that was what drove those to looking more expensive. Yes, sir.
Yeah, isn't that what mill organite's made out of?
Yes,
that
sir.
They put on golf courses?
Mill organite, correct. And Austin
Comes from Milwaukee?
Yes, sir. You are correct. And Austin calls theirs Dillo dirt. But it is sludge that has been composted or heated to reduce the disease-causing organisms, the pathogens, down to an acceptable level.
The other question I have is those high flow numbers, is that from water infiltration into the collection system?
Exactly. And keep in mind, that's after the flow equalization basins did all they could do to slow it down. So the collection system still has lots of inflow and infiltration, and that's why I recommend that you keep those flow equalization basins in service, because you don't have a lot of options if you got rid of those basins.
I did read parts of it. It talks about, in the past, there was a methane-powered generator.
Yes, sir. The way the Army had theirs set up, two of those tanks they were anaerobic digesters. They had floating covers on them, and they produced methane gas. And these covers, as the gas increased, the covers went up and down, and the Army took that gas off and ran it through an engine that was made specifically for burning methane. Methane is extremely corrosive, but they used that engine to run a generator, and that generator made the electricity for the entire plant. And they even had a flare that they burned the excess. But that was back long before there were many environmental
Oh, okay. Well, that answered my question then about why we couldn't look at doing something like that.
When you had unlimited funds in a war operation, things could be done that we can't do with our limited resources. And, but yes, you're right. And some cities do that, but they don't have agricultural land around their plants to spray the sludge on.
The two methods of finance that you mentioned, in either the TML magazine that was in our packet or the fiscal notes, one of the two of those, there was something about a wastewater treatment plant that got some government funding to build it. And I left both of those on my desk.
TML,
Was it TML?
I think
So there may be, maybe there's an alternative that way that, as far as a grant source or something. Because, yeah, and because it used a term of a Sherpa or something, when I didn't know what the heck that was.
Well, that's where it goes out of the engineering realm and into financial advisor realm.
But did y'all read that in the TML magazine this
I did.
I started.
You did? It's in this, I guess, this month. So I would suggest maybe y'all look at that. Because it did talk about grants to build wastewater treatment plants.
Grants are good. Don't have to pay them back.
You have any further questions for Mike or comments? No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Where now? Where do we go now,
Yeah,
Kemosabe?
when they do, how do we follow up on this?
Do y'all want to discuss, well, I mean, it's posted for deliberation. There's 3 council members that aren't here. This is a fairly important topic,
Yeah.
so. I mean, obviously, this is something we're going to have to address. The funding's an issue. If you're talking, you know, if you get a loan, you're talking somewhere of $2.5 million a year, probably.
we need to share the blame.
I'd just like to look at some of the financing options.
I think we need to look at funding options, yeah. You know, that's going to be the first step, see what's even feasible, and if we're relegated to getting a loan, or maybe there's some low-interest term loan program through the Texas Water Development Board, we're going to have to do something eventually. So we need to go ahead and set that process in motion.
Mike, is it correct that from beginning to end, that we'd be looking at about 4 years from before we could?
Yes, sir, that's probably true. Now, that may depend on how difficult it is to attain the land that you're wanting to attain. If you can reach an agreement with the property owner, that's great. If you have to go through condemnation, that's takes more time. Also, the discharge permit and the permit to spray on the land, if there's a lot of contention with that, it may take longer. If you don't have much opposition, then it may not take as long. So the political answer is yes, probably 4 years is from start to finish is probably right. You may subtract a year if things go well. You may have to add a year or two if you have to go to legal.
Well, we would accept donations if someone wanted to name it after themselves.
One other question, is it 2 tracts of land that we're talking about possibly we need to purchase, or 1 tract? How much?
There's one property owner on that list. But he's talking about, part of that would be for the physical footprint of the plant, and the other part would be for the spraying the sludge.
So we're asking city staff to look at funding options and present those to us? Okay, we have a timeline to do that?
First step.
Probably by end of October, because we've got budget stuff working up the next 6 weeks.
Okay. Anything else on that topic? Moving on to item number 11 is hear and deliberate on presentations from nonprofit organizations requesting funding. I'm just going to go down my list. Is that all right, Kevin? Is there any special?
No, just, that'd be good.
Is there anyone here from Children's Advocacy Center? No, on the green sheet. Tell us your name, please.
I'm Angela Crawford with the Children's Advocacy Center. It's nice to see everyone. Thank you for hearing us tonight. I have here with me Tim Walsworth, a board member, Melanie Moore, our board president, and Kenny Doss, a longtime board member as well. Our executive director, Mitzi White, is out of town in training, so you are stuck with me tonight. Most of you are pretty familiar. I'm not doing well with the microphone. Most of you, I think, are pretty familiar with the Advocacy Center. This is not a new request, but just a brief run-through of what we do. We work to provide a team approach to investigating and prosecuting child abuse. We work with Child Protective Services, with local law enforcement, specifically the police department and the county attorney's office, to make the process as easy as possible for the children and as effective as possible because of all the agencies that are involved. We have been around since 1999, serve approximately 20 to 25 children a month. And the primary service that we do is provide a forensic interview for law enforcement so that when there are investigations, the detectives and investigators don't have to interview the children. We do that for them with trained interviewers, and to make that process easier on the child. But then also, we get the information that's needed for CPS and or the county attorney's office so that the child hopefully doesn't have to retell their story over and over. We have a few new things that are going on now. This year we have added what's called the DEC program to our scope of services, and that's drug endangered children. This is it's a big deal for us. We received a grant from our national organization to help us to start this program. And what that is, right now, we have been providing services to children who have been physically and or sexually abused. The primary victims are sexual abuse that we serve. But now this is allowing us to serve children that are in drug endangered environments. So when there is a police raid or a CPS raid, we are now able to serve those children who are at risk of physical or emotional abuse and risk from that.
The audiovisual room has asked me to ask you to back off the microphone just a tad.
I feel like I'm echoing to myself. Is that better? Is that better? I'm sorry. I apologize. So anyway, we are only there's only 7 of the 66 advocacy centers in the state that have this drug endangered children program. So we're very excited to have that added to our scope. And we're the only center in all of Northeast Texas that is providing that service. And we're excited to work with the police department again on this. We do medical exams. We have SANE nurses, sexual assault nurse examiners that do the exams so that these children don't have to go through the difficulties at the hospital. A lot of them are done on site for us at our center, and others are done at the emergency room, but by one of our trained nurses. So we've gradually continued to try to expand the services that we provide to the children. Our request this year is the same as it was last year. We do receive numerous grants from national and state organizations and private foundation grants, but a lot of those grants are designated for certain program improvements and things like that. So the funding that we request from the city is very important to the day-to-day operation of the center. So that's about all I have. Do any of you guys have any questions for me? I'll try not to yell at you.
I don't believe so. Thank you.
No?
No, you did a great job.
Thank you for your attention.
Anyone from CASA?
I'm Sharon Eubanks, and CASA for Kids is at 2025 Northwest Loop 286 in Paris, Texas. We have a new building. We please invite you to come by and see our renovations since we've moved where the Girl Scouts used to be. We're really excited that the city of Paris has supported our parent teachers. We teach parenting to anyone who is willing to come and listen to our classes, and they're really, really, really good classes. That's on top of the advocacy that we do for children. The CAC and CASA are two ends of the same spectrum. The CAC gets the cases at the very beginning. They handle them very well, pass them on to the DA and the judges, and then the judge assigns CASA, and we follow that child until he goes into some kind of permanence. But along the way, we found out that there were a lot of parents and there were a lot of people who were borderline in that need for parenting. And the judges and several people asked us if we'd start a program where we taught some parenting. So now we teach 3 parenting classes a week. One of them is a pregnant teen parenting class. It is for children who are having children, the boys and the girls, not just the moms. And that's gone over very well. We have had no children who went through our parenting program that have had their children picked up by CPS. And that's a very good track record. The other parenting is the judges assign people to come or pastors suggest it. We get lots of referrals just from the doctors and nurses. And we get really good input on our parenting classes. And that is one thing that I saw a statistic the other day that said in America about 92% of people become parents, but we don't train them at all. They just learn from their own parents maybe, or from what they see. So parenting is a very important thing that we need to have. The $5,000 that you give me is multiplied nearly 7 times by the hours that we put in with our volunteers. Last year we had volunteers for this program, and the teaching time that we did, if you counted it in dollars, it was over $27,000 worth of stuff that your $5,000 generated. So we're very excited to partner with y'all in this. It has been very good for y'all. It's hard to prove when something didn't happen that you prevented it from happening, because it didn't happen. But that's where we are right now. We're very excited because we feel that there are less cases going to CPS and to the police department because of what we've succeeded in doing. So I just want to thank you and hope that you'll continue to support CASA for Kids.
Thank you, Sharon.
Anybody
have any questions for Sharon? Thank you. Is anyone here from the Diversity Task Force?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Clark?
Hi, I'm Mary Clark. I'm co-chair of the Diversity Task Force. And first of all, I want to thank you for the money you gave us last year. It helped us so much. We are an all-volunteer organization, so all money that you give to us goes to our programs. There's no overhead in what we do. We are a group of volunteers that are working hard to improve race relations here in Paris, which we know has been continuing our recent issue for this community. We do it by developing relationships, opening up the conversation, working together on projects that are beneficial to the community, and we want to bring this community together. And I think we've been very successful in what we've been able to do. You've been supportive. I see I know 3-4 of you were at our Diversity Dialogue Dinner a week ago Saturday, which was a wonderful start to some more important conversations that need to be had. We have our block party coming up in the end of this month, and we're very excited about that. We've got good entertainment. We've always had good participation. This year we're going to have sign-ups for all of our youth, many of our youth organizations, so it's kind of a one-stop shopping. You as a parent can come and get your kids signed up for whatever it is you want to, but we hope that that brings a more diverse group of kids to a lot of those organizations. And then we have Challenge Day coming to 3 of the school districts in the fall. So our budget hasn't changed, and we are asking for the same amount of money that you provided us last year.
Any questions for Mary? Thank you, Mary. Anyone here from ETCATA?
Mark Shrewsbury from ETCATA, East Texas Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, and I have Daryl Bruce here with me, one of our board members. The funds that we we request from the city of Paris is $4,500, which is the same amount that was budgeted this past year. We use those funds in a three-prong avenue on supporting the work in recovery and treatment for alcoholism and drug abuse in the city of Paris. The main area that we're asking for the funds for is for the access, what we call access to recovery, where we provide a licensed chemical dependency counselor to provide confidential screenings and assessments for people who are seeking state-funded treatment. And the way the state does that right now, you have to go through what they call an OSHA program, which is the service that we provide. One of the drawbacks to that is, though, that is treatment, substance abuse treatment throughout the state of Texas is severely underfunded, and even with the recent changes in the state, those funds have even been reduced more, not due to the need of the work that needs to be done, but just due to the lack of the funds available. And so we are asking for those funds to be continued so that we'll be able to provide that work in that area. And we provide a counselor here at 3737 Lamar Avenue in Suite 200, and he's here one day a week to see clients and be able to help get them help, because our job is to help add value to their lives so that they can in turn add values to the city in being productive citizens of the area. We also provide some school-based prevention programs. We use research-based curriculum that have proven outcomes, and that is a 6 to 8 week, depending upon which lessons that we're teaching, 6 to 8 week lessons that we teach both at the Paris and North Lamar ISDs. And that is something that we've been doing for several years now in the area. Then we also do some work with the juvenile probation program. Darrell will talk about a little bit about that.
I'm Darrell Bruce, and I'm Chief Juvenile Probation Officer of Lamar County. The ETCATA program, the assessment program that they provide for us, is the only local resource that we have at this time for those assessments. With each passing year, we are seeing an increase in the possession and the abuse of pharmaceutical drugs, drugs that the kids are getting from grandparents, parents, out of the medicine cabinets. I mean, it's easy access, it's cheap for them. We are also seeing an increase in drugs of that sort, as well as marijuana, in our elementary schools. I've been chief for 4.5 years, and I'm not saying that it hasn't been there before, but these last couple of years are the first time that I've seen, or that we're getting referrals from the elementary schools themselves. It's a very important resource for us, and it's the only one that we have at this time as far as the assessments, so that we can get the youth of Lamar County and the city of Paris the help that they need. And any continuation of funding would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
This past year, during our fiscal year, we managed to see 19 people for screening and assessments, but through our school-based programs, which is also part of the probation area that Darrell was referring to, we saw 723 students. We appreciate the work that y'all do to keep this city great, and we appreciate the work and the funding that you give us to help continue our work as well. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Mark or Darrell? Thank you, gentlemen. American Red Cross.
Evening. I'm Brad Scott. I'm the Executive Director for the American Red Cross here in Lamar County. I'd like to start off tonight just talking about a few things. As you can see, we are asking for a little bit more funds this year than we did last year. Got several reasons there. We started our program with the Services to Armed Forces at Camp Maxey 2 years ago. We've increased those. We've gotten a lot of guys in. We've served 4,250 troops through there since last year at the same time. We started this off to take care of the young men and women in training, to keep them connected with the internet cafe that we have out there, providing them with things that they may not be able to get or have with them or may have forgotten. Fingernail clippers, foot powder, stuff like that they leave coming here thinking they're going to be on a base somewhere where they're going to be training and have a AFE store or something they just don't have out there, they don't have access to. So we provide all those things through our cafe for our servicemen and women. Also with our health and safety program, we're trying to branch out into the schools. We've had a trial program going at North Lamar for 25 students or so for the past 2 years. We're trying to expand that program to over 500 students Lamar County-wide. That's at Paris, we picked up 30 new students, PJC, also bringing in Prairieland, Chisholm, and Roxton this year. Of course, without the money, we can't do that, so we're kind of branching out on those programs with our health and safety to bring our youth in to save a life too. Can't put a price on what it takes to save a life, but if we have 500 students in Lamar County that's in these school districts, we don't have to rely on the teachers or our emergency medical staff to get to them. If we have certain kinds of disasters, it may cut us off from one of those schools or one of those areas that we can't get emergency personnel to them. We've had 9 city fires, 16 county fires. We've assisted 78 family members financially through food, clothing, shelter since last year. We rehabbed over 100 firemen, volunteer firemen at a time with the Hope Agra fire that happened last fall. And we've helped with the big downtown fires. We help with whether they're city firemen or volunteer firemen. We take care of all those guys with our funds. We also do the health and safety courses and, of course, our disaster courses. Our disaster courses are completely free to the public. We just certified 23 last Saturday, an all-day program where we use those volunteers to help us in our shelters when we open those, or we use those, for any kind of disaster that might come in here from another county or for our own disasters. We're trying to build that program, get a lot more volunteers coming in, but it takes, money to do that with. The babysitting class now, those 13-year-olds through 17-year-olds, they're CPR certified. They know how to save a life when they get that certification. So we've really improved that certification. So when you ask someone to babysit in one of your households, you're going to know that that's a Red Cross certified babysitter, that they're going to know CPR, first aid, and all those kinds of things that they're going to need to know to take care of your children in your absence. We also started a new program last year, Caring for the Caregiver, which a lot of our home health and a lot of our nursing staff and EMT staff have really taken on to this, because this teaches the caregivers, when they don't have the coverage through the medical staff, how to take care of their loved ones themselves. And you can't take care of a loved one if you've got a strained back or a broken arm or you hurt yourself. So it's really important that we use these new classes. And we've expanded just about every program that we have. We're trying to reach out. We're trying to do more for the community. We provided 17 first aid stations throughout the city over the last year with the Pumpkin Festival. Anything the city or the county has, Chamber of Commerce, whatever it is, we try to be there on time, take care of any kind of scratches, bruises, hurt, have bicycle accidents, all kinds of crazy things happen when you get masses of people together. We spend a lot of time training to take care of those masses of people in everything that we do. I think I've highlighted everything that our programs do, but our disaster and health and safety programs and our services to armed forces are a real important part of our community now. We brought Camp Maxie back from just hardly being anything out there to where we're running, almost 5,000 troops through their training and stuff. And then that brings back economy and a lot of things to Paris that we have lost many, many years ago. Anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for Brad? Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Let's see, anyone here from the Historical Society Museum? I assume that's why you were sitting.
Yes. Mayor Beard, Mayor Pro Tem McCarthy, council members, and Mr. Caruth and Ms. Ellis. I'm Patsy Davis from the Lamar County Historical Museum. I live on Audubon Road in Ms. Rogers District 7. I'm here to represent the Lamar County Historical Museum. For the past 2 years, you have generously given us $5,000, and we're here to ask for it again. We are, like the Diversity Task Force, a total volunteer organization. We have no paid staff. Some 10 years ago, the late Dr. William Hayden bought a 100-year-old warehouse building on Kaufman Street across the parking lot from the museum, from the depot. And for the past 10 years, a group of senior citizen men have met twice a week and have built a wonderful museum. I hope all of you have been there. We have 3 different sections: Streetscape of Paris, an inner octagon room set up with 8 rooms, one of which is totally devoted to the Great Paris Fire, and one of our irreplaceable artifacts is the original framed drawing that the mayor of Paris wrote the day after the Great Fire of March 1916, where he wrote "smile," and that is the word and that is the sign that helped rebuild Paris. The center point of our museum is the Beard House, which is over 160 years old, the oldest house in Lamar County, which was saved because it had been encased in a clapboard house and was given to our museum by Dr. James Robert Beard some 10 years ago and brought in on a flatbed trailer. As I said, the building belongs to the city. All of the work has been done by volunteers, except for a few times when we had to have professional electricians to bring certain things up to code. We're open twice a week, every Friday and Saturday. We're also open any other time by special request. It is my joy to take school children through each year. Each fall, we take all the second grades from Aiken through. We take elementary school children through from North Lamar and elementary school children and middle school children from Chisholm. We want to have more to come. We hope that we get those children from Roxton and Prairieland this year. We work with the Visitors and Convention Council, and when a large group comes in, such as the Early Model A Club that came in the spring and was here for 3 nights, heads in beds, and they had a tour of our museum. My son-in-law was in Dallas recently and found this book, Dallas and Fort Worth Area, and on page 73, it lists the things to see in Paris, and along with the Maxey House and the Eiffel Tower, it says, the Lamar County Historical Museum is a cultural site you won't want to miss. So they know about us in Dallas. I hope more of you know about us here. We desperately need to expand our heating and cooling. The large part of our museum where the Beard House is almost unusable this time of year. Our air conditioning works great in January and February, and our heat will run you out of the oven in July and August. I would like to ask that you consider funding us again.
Thank you, Patsy. Any questions? Thank you very much. Lamar County Human Resources.
Hello. First, would like to start just by thanking the council and the city of Paris for the continued support of our programs, primarily Meals on Wheels. My name is Tanita Hilliard. I am the director with the Meals on Wheels program, and we are located at 1273 19th Northwest. This is new, so. Okay. In years past, I've talked about our growth and how much we've grown in the programs. I've done a grid here to kind of illustrate that. The blue bars are the number of meals that we are serving at one of the 4 senior centers that we have in Paris and Lamar County. The red indicate home-delivered meals, and the green is the total meals. If you look at that, you can tell over the past 5 years we have dramatically increased. In home-delivered meals, that is a 49% increase. Meals, like I said, Meals on Wheels has experienced 49% growth in home-delivered meals in the past 5 years. In the 08-09 Meals on Wheels year, we served a total of 998 individuals. Those are through our senior centers and homebound individuals. In 2009, Meals on Wheels served a total of 132,121 meals. Our average cost to feed one person is $1,342. We do deliver meals 5 days a week. That also serves as a safety check for a lot of our seniors. We're currently fixing to do an employee training. 2 topics on that is CPR, which no one in any of our funding entity actually requires us. We do that because we feel that is important, because a lot of our drivers are the first responders. The other topic we're going to be looking at is training our drivers on how to identify heat exhaustion among our elderly, and you can definitely tell how we feel, much less if you're in a home, and how hot it can be, especially if you don't have any heat or air. 20.4% of the population in Paris and Lamar County is over the age of 60. The state average is 9%. We're way above that. Every 7 seconds, someone turns 60 in the U.S., and every 8 seconds, someone is turning 50. We are a certified retirement community. So we're encouraging individuals to come here and retire here, so we should continue to look at also taking care of them and offering them services. There was a national study. It was conducted by the Meals on Wheels Association, the state with the highest rate of senior hunger. So that is bringing minimal amount as possible. In the media growth,